raise that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear. And today we're sitting back down with Mitch Stewart. It's always great to get together with Mitch.
It's been a regular thing here. It's good.
Well, we had you on a lot in the beginning, and then obviously the one podcast we had, the audio got a little bit messed up, so we're gonna have to redo that one with when we had the hockey training guys in.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we'll have to redo that one, but we'll get that one out to the folks for sure. But I wanted to bring you in today and kind of chat a little bit more about getting a lot of questions from young parents, I guess, and young athletes that are talking a little bit about, okay, when do I start training? You know, so my young players, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, in that kind of age group, right? Maybe getting into Adam and Pee Wee, so more competitive hockey. You got your double A's, your triple A's. When should they start training? And I guess the second part of that question is, what should they do? Like, what are some key things as far as, you know, yeah.
That's the thing. And I think the first part is, you know, what is training? Like, a lot of people, when they think training, they think gym. When you're talking about an athlete, that's not necessarily the case. So I think one of the most important things is that if you're going to do it right. So if you're going to do it, you better want to do it. So if you're going to put your kid into some kind of training, I mean, we can say this is at like 3 or whatever the age is. Yeah. But it's just, and I mean, you're not doing it necessarily right or wrong, but just start doing things that they enjoy at a young age. Yeah. And then if they really enjoy soccer, then maybe start learning some soccer skills on top of doing your hockey stuff, or then start maybe learning basketball skills. And then if they start getting interested in training in the gym, then start training at maybe, you know, and I'm talking like learning how to do A skips and B skips and sprint patterns maybe at 10 or something like that. And I'm throwing that out there loosely. There's some 8-year-olds that are super interested in it. They want to learn how to do it right. Yeah. They can do it pretty well. I don't see any problem with that. I'm not saying we're going to start loading an 8-year-old up with a bunch of weights, but it's over the years of training, it's not, you know, individualization has started to, I get a much better idea of, and it really depends on what the person's open to doing. Like
right. They got to like it, right?
It's just that, and yeah, that's the main thing, really. Yeah. And, you know, because if you're going to do it and you're going to do it half-assed, then it's not worth doing at all. So it's hard to put an age on it, to be honest. Like it really is hard to put an age on it.
I think for parents, you know, let's say my son or my daughter's 11 right now, and I realize, man, they're actually pretty good at hockey and they really like it. Realistically, as a parent, I think as a lot of parents do, you almost want to we're all a little crazy, right? So you're thinking at 4 years old, man, maybe my kid's going to be a gymnast. Maybe my kid's going to be an Olympic athlete. Maybe my kid's going to make the NHL. Who knows? Because parents are crazy. So we all know that, right? Yeah. But it's almost starting to get them introduced to different sports at young ages, and like whether it's gymnastics and like all these little things, basketball, hockey, whatever, soccer.
And with structure. Yeah. That's the other thing. That's what I was saying. If you're going to do it right. So let me give an example. I don't have kids yet, but a friend of mine.
You're just practicing.
Yeah, just practicing. Heavy has a 3-year-old. And so that's why I said 3 too in my own head. So they put them in a gymnastics program with a more established organization. Yeah. And they put them in a gymnastics program that was it was really inexpensive, and it was like through whatever. And there was a tremendous difference on the focus, even with those 3-year-olds, like what they were working on and what they were doing. And he commented on all this stuff. He said it was worth paying more because the structure in the program was a lot better. And at 3 years old, again, crazy parents felt like they got way more out of it.
Well, I'll tell you
what. And that's what I'm really saying. Yeah, is that which makes put sense. Them into something that, because at 3 years old, it's like, if you're going to do it right. Like, that's a loose thing to say. But make sure that there's some kind of structure around it. Yeah. And that's where, in some cases, I think team training at a young age can be a really bad thing. Yeah, I agree. Unless it's very structured. Because what I've seen is, you know, you'll get players going into a gym with a team, and then they start to treat the gym, which is going to hopefully be their training atmosphere, as a playground. And that's not what it is. So don't put them in an environment without structure in that environment, because then they start to learn to not be structured in that environment. So that's really the takeaway, like what I'm saying.
You know what, man, this is like, to me, like what you just said is parenting 101. for instance, like, you know, you don't have kids yet, but when you do have kids, you're going to get all this different advice, which don't listen to any of it. But you're going to get, you know, some parents that, oh, my kid just goes to sleep with an iPad. And whenever they fall asleep, legit. My kid, he's allowed to watch a movie till the movie's over, then he goes to bed. Or, you know, my kid's in bed by 6 o'clock at night, not tired yet.
Full autonomy at 4.
So, and I'm not saying what we did is right or what everyone does is right, but what I'm getting at is we set up a bit of a routine. So talk about structure, where since they were young, we'd brush your teeth, read a book, go to bed. You know, this is the same kind of thing, right? And now it's easy to put them to bed. We still have our nights where we battle, don't get me wrong. Just as a parent, I think as soon as you think you got it nailed, chaos. Like they just like they're new kids. They forget what's going on. But overall, like it's been way easier. And I'm not that structured guy. My wife is. So I was like, whatever, we're at people's house. Like, that doesn't matter. We'll stay later. Who cares? Like, no, gotta leave. Yeah. And now I'm like, thank you. Because it's night and day, right?
Yeah.
But my little girl did, and my boy did gymnastics a year ago in a structured program. I was amazed at what they could do.
Keeping their attention and having them, it's incredible.
They run through the stations. They go to different areas. They're always busy. They're learning new moves. They're learning how to skip and like little things that a lot of like, you look at a group of 6 or 7 kids in a gymnastics class, maybe one of those 4 or 5-year-olds can skip. The rest are just chaotic. By the end of like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 5, 6 of them are skipping. Yeah. It's pretty cool. You know, like they're getting it.
They're learning something. Yeah.
And I was really impressed, I'll be honest with you. And it might have been maybe a little bit more expensive than just that loosely structured one. But I agree with you. I think, you know, sometimes paying a little bit more for that good program, I think is huge. Right. And
coming back to your initial question, and I think now I can answer it a little bit more clearly. It really is put them in a training environment that they're ready for, and in a training environment that's structured so that they're not learning poor habits in that environment.
Yeah.
So like some kids are never ready to come to the gym.
Yeah.
Even when they're 25.
Right.
Like really though. And I think actually what prepares them is if they do structured programs like a gymnastics structured program, a track structured program, a basketball structured program. By the time they make it to the gym when they're 13, 14, they're expecting structure. You know what I mean? And that's because I see a big difference between players that come in who have a background in doing things like that and players that don't. Like, that's kind of the bottom line. So like they're expecting some kind of structure. And here we have structure. So it's very frustrating when people come in and they don't want to follow, you know, a bit of a structure. And then when you start asking people like, what did you do when you're younger? And I used to do gymnastics. I did it here. I used to do this. I did it here. And then you can see that a lot of those people who are a little bit more focused on the details and actually learning what is this environment all about? They've been in other environments that were structured.
Yeah.
So I think the answer to that question is really whenever they're ready, you can start doing stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's things we do in the gym with some younger kids that aren't lifting weights and that type of thing, but there's still structure behind it.
Yeah.
And if they're ready to follow that structure and are interested in the structure, then that's great. If they show up the first time and they're not enjoying it because they don't like that, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
You know, so it really is whenever you're ready, there's things we can always work on.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then I think another thing that a lot of parents I think are apprehensive about is, okay, am I bringing my 11-year-old to a gym already, which I don't think is a bad thing, but for some families, it's maybe not affordable. Maybe it's a tough commute after work to get there for sessions. Are there key exercises that these young players could do at home? Like, and something real simple, we don't have to go into major detail on it, but just like as far as, you know what, if you got a young son or daughter who really loves hockey and wants to go to the gym or wants to work out a little bit starting at that 11, 12, 13-year-old, you know, is there stuff that they could do at home that would be beneficial?
This is a tough question. I think things like skipping, things like dribbling a basketball and shooting a bat. Like I honestly don't think doing, push-ups and lunges and stuff can be fine. But I've seen some kids come in doing lunges and they were actually doing like training sessions with people and they had them like the first time doing it, lunging. An example was lunging around an entire soccer field. Right. But like this kid's lunges were like, so it was so uncontrolled. So it's hard to say, well, you can do lunges at home.
That's true. Yeah.
So, which you can, but like if they're really, really bad, I'd rather you not. Whereas if you pick up a basketball or dribble a soccer ball between your feet or skip, like your skipping rope, you know, you can't really do it. You might not be good at it, but you can't really do it like totally wrong.
And you're not going to do any damage.
Like, no, you're not going to do any damage when you suck it.
6 months on your own, terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Your knees coming in and stuff like that's going to potentially cause some.
Yeah, it could some bad patterns and whatever. So
The only thing
honestly,
is,
for me, stuff to do at home, it really is just like you can make it, go for a little jog, skip on, use your skipping rope, maybe step over bench, like whatever it is, if you want a little circuit. But again, my whole philosophy revolves a lot around doing things with some intent.
Yeah.
So like, just doing it without any intent, and that's like with say push-ups or whatever is, I don't know, it's just hard to recommend. I'm not saying you need to do a whole bunch of personal training sessions, but go and learn how to do the lunge once. It takes me, like I can teach someone how to do lunge pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like just with some key points and then push-ups or whatever. And then they can go practice that stuff on their own.
Yep.
But yeah.
No, and that makes, I didn't really think about it that way, but that makes sense because you give a young boy or young girl circuit at home doing like 10 squats, 10 lunges, 10 push-ups, 10 whatever, and they're doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
Their back's arched on a push-up or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That's probably not, even though they're working hard at it, they're working inefficiently at it, and it's going to cause more problems.
Here's the other thing with this stuff is, because I almost have, initially, I used to think, right and wrong way to do an exercise. But now I think a lot more in the sense of controlled and uncontrolled, because when you're doing stuff with your body weight, this is a little bit loose, but there isn't necessarily a wrong way to do it. Like it's not a bad thing to squat down with your spine rounded when you don't have any weight on your back. Right. But if you have weight on your back, there is. But when someone squats down and they have no control over their spine, that I see as an issue. So a lot of the first, when people first come in, a lot of what we're doing is helping them gather some awareness so that when they're doing things, they're in control of their position. Like if you lunge and your knee falls in, that's actually not necessarily a bad thing. Your knee should be able to fall in without your knee blowing up. But the problem is when they don't have the control to keep it straight. So like it's not even that falling in is bad. It's that you're falling in because you have no control over the muscles that keep you straight. So it's like we'll actually do squat patterns sometimes. There's gymnastic squat patterns that's called like inside squats, and your knees actually intentionally go in. You're not loaded or anything like that. But, when I started learning more about these things, that's when I noticed, there's not necessarily right and wrong. There's controlled and uncontrolled, and there's falling into positions because you're weak in the other positions. Yeah. So it's not like that. Yeah, I hope that makes sense.
No, totally. Yeah, it does. Because I think the body's got to be able to move in different ways.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
right?
Like, man, you see what some people do with their bodies? Like, you go see Cirque du Soleil. That's wrong. That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. But, like, they have tremendous control over their bodies. Yeah. So the difference is being in control and out of control. It's not right and wrong. And I think that's where, one guy named Ido Portal, he says fitness people are some of the worst movers because they squat the right way, they lunge the right way, they do push-ups the right way, but then they're outside of the right way, whatever that is, they're brutal. Yeah. So like they can't move.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So a lot of what we do is not teach. Yeah, like we teach them how to do a squat pattern the way you should when you load it, but we more importantly teach them how to control the different positions, the different parts of the body. Control your spine, control your shoulder, control your knee joint, your hips joint, your ankle joint. So you're learning to control your joints. You're not learning how to do an exercise necessarily.
Yeah. I think being mentally in tune with your body. So knowing like, how your ankles moving, how your legs moving, whatever that is, all that stuff huge. And your body's under control in movements, right? So you know what's going on a little bit, even at young ages. But then let's say we translate that onto the ice. You see the same thing on the ice. Like if you see a kid who's kind of been out of control, just in movements, like they're walking and their ankles flailing or whatever it is, right? When they're on the ice, you see the same thing. And you look at, let's say you had 2 10-year-old players and you had one that's playing house league, just likes the game, having fun, enjoying it, no problem. And then you had a AAA player beside them. They're skating up and down the ice. It'd be unbelievable the difference in stride. Same age, same birthday, same size roughly, let's say. It'd be now the other one, the AAA player is probably more trained and had more time with coaches and skills coaches and all that kind of stuff. So you're obviously, but maybe the house league player is more athletic overall, but hockey wise, that AAA player will be better, like just look way better and way more efficient, and more so because they probably have been trained more. They have been, and they're more aware of what their body's doing because they've heard it 1,000 times of like control your ankle, snap your toe, keep your line straight, elbows, whatever it is, right? So I think, a lot of that comes down to, like you said, like going through the patterns correctly, knowing what you're doing and making sure that you're being efficient when you're doing it and not doing bad things basically as far as, bad muscle patterns, bad body movements, things like that, you know?
It's all about being efficient for the movement too. Like, so you talked about, you know, being efficient to skate fast on the ice. Is it bad that your foot turns out a little bit? Well, from a performance perspective, yeah, you don't want your body in whatever that position is.
Yeah.
But like it's just a lack of control. It just comes down to that. Well, so like being able to control different, I think the more positions that you can control, the more athletic you can be.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where, again, so coming back to even that first question is start with just, you know, gymnastics type stuff. And you use that loosely because gymnastics is like, you know, think of it as an Olympic event, which, you know, there are. But when you're putting your 3-year-old in gymnastics, that's not what gymnastics is. It's about, you know, learning to balance, learning to regain control of your body after, say, you do somersault and then get back on your feet. How quickly and efficiently can you do that? You're creating brain maps when you do all these things. And if you're in an unstructured program, maybe they're not giving you any little tips or putting you in the right environment. You create poor mapping with your body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I don't know. So that goes right back to, you know, if we're kind of relating this to off ice, on ice, but parents have everywhere in any hockey market have the choice of probably 5 to 100 hockey schools or hockey people to go to, right? And you could go to hockey school A or hockey school B or hockey camp A, hockey camp B, whatever, skills guy A, skills guy B, doesn't matter. Skills girl A, skills girls B. But the biggest difference with a lot of these programs are structure, number one. Do they even know what they're teaching? Are they good at teaching what they're teaching? Can they break it down? And also the correction. Yeah. So when kids are going through, like I've had numerous parents come to me and say, man, I went to whatever program it was and no one ever stopped my kid. I saw him do it wrong 7 times in a drill and no one ever stopped him. Now you're not going to catch him every time, but that's how kids get better. You know, so even in a structured program with gymnastics,
they're getting feedback.
Yeah, they're going to do maybe 15 somersaults. Yeah, but maybe 2 or 3 of those somersaults are caught by a coach, and the coach is like, "Hey, when you do this, make sure you're landing, you know, feet flat, whatever it is, right?" And that's how the kids are going to get better.
Bringing it back again, so we got a hockey player now, female hockey player, recognized by university in the States, and she said that one of the first sessions that you guys went out with their team, and so that's what age they're, you know, like grade 10, 11.
Yeah, high school.
Yeah, like high school kids. So. They're like, it was like a learn to skate almost, but she was like, it was really good because so many people were brutal at it. Like didn't have the foundation, like or at least it wasn't that strong. And like, you know, I think this is important in the gym and on the ice is revisiting the fundamentals. Like even when you become, you know, an NHL player, like revisiting the fundamentals is so important. Yeah. You know, and a lot of times once you've gone through them, if you ever went through them, they don't get revisited. Yeah. And when you revisit them, sometimes you're like, wow, I'm not that good at this now. And then you clean it up and then all of a sudden other things start to fall back in place. But
the good players do that.
The good players do that.
Like the elite of the elite. And we've been very fortunate to work with some real good players, but they want to go back to the basics. Yeah. They come back after a season like,
they know, they see the value.
Let's go back to the basics because I've been, you know, working out all year and playing and I need to go back to the fundamentals, you know?
Well, it's funny because you know, you look at there's quotes made by even I think like Michael Jordan and Bruce Lee or whatever, and then people ask them like, "How have you got so good at this?" And it's just mastering the basics and remastering the basics and remastering the basics. Yeah, and those like I think it's you know those are 2 of many that say that. And like you said, a lot of the NHL players they come back and they want to work on the basics, whereas a lot of people don't want to work. They want to work on toe drags. They want to work on for me like snatches or cleans or you know some weird jump plyometric sequence. And there's a place for that stuff, but a lot of times it's not as big as what people.
It's frustrating though because it is frustrating. You got young minor hockey players that don't want to work on skating. They want to work on shooting. That they don't care. They think they're good enough. Yeah, and then you've got a elite NHL player back working on that stuff. You know, an hour later, and you're like, you won't do this. And you're playing Pee Wee hockey right now. And this guy's making $5 million or $4 million or $3 million in NHL and he's working on it. That makes no sense to me. You know, but it's one of those things where you gotta, you know, you talk to these young kids and kind of not sell it to them, but basically get them to buy into it. Because at the end of the day, if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. Or they're not going to listen. So you got to make sure that you're kind of getting, you know, not on them, but you're definitely, you know, sharing the benefits of why this is so important to work on this and kind of go through this stuff for sure, you know? Yeah. And I think like now, you know, nowadays with everything that's out there with the internet and just social media and all that kind of stuff, you know, we talk about this a lot, but there's a lot of white noise out there. There's a lot of, it gets cumbersome for families and moms and dads and even kids looking at this stuff and thinking, I got to be able to do this, or I got to be able to do that, or, oh my God, check out what Johnny's doing. I got to, so there's a lot of, for parents, especially, I think when you go to the rink or you're looking at social stuff, you're, man, am I not doing enough? Right? Oh man, I'm missing out on this. Like my neighbors' kids are in 7 different sports. They're gone every night of the week.
Yeah.
You know, man, we're not doing enough. My kids got to do more, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate. My wife's great, but we're very big on like, no, let's try to have family dinner at least a couple nights a week. If we have nothing going on a Saturday, let's not jam in gymnastics or jam in something else. Let's just chill out.
Rushed, yeah.
Let's just have
Comes
a
back
Saturday.
to structure.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and for us,
Don't rush all the
selfishly,
time.
it's nice because we're not running around,
Yeah.
and we try to keep kind of try to stay away from, you know, that kind of white noise, but it's natural. And if you have that personality, it's like, oh my God, we're missing out. Oh no. Then you're just gonna be rushing, trying to keep up. And I think that makes it really, really tough on families and who suffers out of that for the most part. Usually, it's a kid. Yeah, kid can't be a kid sometimes. Kids got to go from here to there to, you know, and it's a lot.
And it's harder to, I think it's harder for the kid to focus too when they're doing like on all these different things. Whereas like just pick a couple key things and probably do way better at those, and then maybe move on to something else or continue with it, whatever. But like it's you know, if you get tired, you're less likely to be focused. Yeah. So if they're doing something every single night of the week, and getting burnt out, then kids can get burnt out too mentally. Like there's like no more focus left. Like just. Yeah. And even quicker than we can as adults. Like we don't realize it. Sometimes like, oh, look how much energy my son or daughter has. It's unbelievable, you know? One thing I noticed, and I talked to other parents about this. So my young kids go to French school, right? But they're English. So the first year when they're going to their like JK, it was crazy to see how tired they were coming home. They're thinking way more, right? Like,
can't understand a word. Like the teachers speak French, right? Now the teachers speak English.
Well, they're trying, right?
Like they're massaging these kids into it. But man, like just like staring at somebody trying to figure out what they're saying, right?
All day.
Like just looking at sign language and looking at like pointing and whatever. Like, so like they were bagged, man. And I didn't really get it at the beginning. You're just kind of like, suck it up. It's school. You played all day. What's the big deal? Like,
you go sit learn Chinese all day or something like that. You'd be
brain just fried, man. These kids don't get it. They're just like, oh. So I think, a lot of like these young kids, even though they looks like they have a ton of energy all the time, sometimes as parents, we got to pull it back a bit. So, you know, man, just let them be a kid. Let them, you know, watch TV a little bit or just play at home for the afternoon rather than worried about running around, you know? And you feel like it's a bit of a rat race when you have kids because they grow up fast and everything happens quick. So you feel like you're in a race with time. And man, if my kid's 7 and he hasn't done jiu-jitsu yet, I'm screwed. Right? Or if he doesn't know how to skate by 6, there's no way, right? No, everything's okay. You're fine, man. Like, you know, is your kid a good kid? Number one, is your kid respectful? Is your kid, you know, say please and thank you, whatever your structure is at home. But that's number one for me is your kid a good kid? And then, you know, then find out what they like and expose them to different things and then see how things go from there, you know?
And that's where we come back to. I just think it's important that at that young age, so come again, like when you start training is try to have them even choose it and then put it in a program where they're learning. Yeah. And not just like being crazy.
Yeah, I know for sure. And I think that's really important. One thing you touched on earlier was kind of the team training, and a lot of coaches and managers and families and parents that are in minor hockey really, really, really want that once a week or twice a week training in the locker room or at the school gym or wherever it's with the team. And going back to what you said, I think I guess the question I would ask is, would you think it'd be more important for them to go to a structured place, like a gym, obviously, or something like that, rather than quantity? So meaning go to a quality place once a week rather than trying to do 2 workouts in a week at a gym or whatever with somebody's dad that used to play football.
Yeah. No question. Yeah. And like in season, a lot of what we do is like learning, like say track skills or doing some like different cutting lateral type drills. And then honestly learning how to do like proper in a gym sense, squat patterns, lunge patterns, push-up patterns, rowing patterns, stuff like that. And again, we do it in a way that they do enjoy it. You know, like it's not like it's like it is a workout. Yeah. But the first couple sessions though, and honestly, it's awesome. Like they, after a couple times, like let's say we're doing box jumps, and just when I'm showing them the exercises or we're showing them the exercises, say, okay, just give me 2 quick things that's important when you guys are doing box jump. And then they'll, like after the second session, they're like, make sure when you land on the box that your knees aren't, collapsing, or, when you, and try to keep your chest up taller, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they're pretty good at rhyming that stuff off. And to me, that's a big win. If they can leave at the end of the year at, let's say, 12, 13 years old and just like do a push-up on a bench, and you say, okay, what's important when you do a push-up? When I come down, my shoulder blades come together. You know that they know where their shoulder blades are. You would be shocked. The number of people that come in at 20. And I'm like, just pull your shoulder blades back. And they're like, what does that mean? And like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, so if they, and then keep my back straight or something like that. So like keep your core engaged.
Yeah.
So now they're leaving and they know 2 things about a push-up that are good. So then at that point, I can say, yeah, you can practice push-ups at home.
Yeah.
And they can have some sort of connection with, okay, what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to keep my core strong, do push-ups. When we first started like 8 years ago, it wasn't the same. I didn't do it exactly like that. And now I will say every single person on a team can do a good solid push-up after the first couple sessions, whether it's on an angle with their hands up on a box or on the floor or whatever. And they all understand where their body is in space.
Yeah.
And that to me is incredibly important. And I'd rather them do that once a week than go run through a ladder and sprint around a building and whatever twice a week, if that's kind of answers the question, I think.
Well, no, for sure. And I think a lot of times we talk about physical literacy, right? That's like the new big tag word as far as like, oh, you got to understand how to move your body, things like that. Mm-hmm. But I think even training literacy is huge for kids that are athletic, that want to get into training for their sport.
Yeah.
But understanding how to go into a gym and see boxes against the wall, be like, and set up their own little workout at 14, 15 years old if they had to, right? Where they could do push-ups, they could do crunches or whatever, a plank. They can do box jumps. They know what the dumbbells are. They know what the barbells are, right? Like I think those are all big things, even just as part of a season, just learning proper movements and proper exercises, and then learning what a gym is and what's in there and how to use it. Because a lot of kids go to a gym, even as adults, going to a gym and intimidated by the gym. And I understand that. There's all these machines, a couple muscle heads, a couple women that are really fit. And you're going in there trying to drop 10 pounds. You're like, holy smokes, man, I'm just going to stick on the treadmill. Yeah. Right? Because you're so intimidated by the other area. But if you've, at a young age, understand how that whole area moves and what everything's for, kind of changes your whole even pattern for life as far as just potentially, that becomes kind of almost like, the way you live, right?
Well, like, and this is something that makes me like super happy too when I hear this. So there's been a couple teams where we get kids off the team that come here regularly, and then they'll go to, their team might go to another gym or something like that. And then they'll be like, yeah, they had us doing front squats and stuff, which is, again, front squats are good, but they're not good when you don't do them well.
Yeah.
So the kids that come here will be like, yeah, like his, back was round, his knees were falling in, like, and they can pick this stuff out. So like, I'm not turning them into coaches, but like at least they've got a pretty good idea actually. Like when they go in somewhere else and they can see what's happening, and again, that's structure. They see what's happening and they're like, this just isn't right.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily a lot of times the exercises or the circuit itself or the whatever. It's who's doing it and how they're doing it.
Yeah.
And then other thing is like we've got, some different templates or whatever that we'll show the kids and teach them a little bit about. And they start to understand like that if they're doing pushing patterns, they should be doing pulling patterns. And if they're doing, just different things like that, which I think is important. It comes back to like what you're saying. If they go to the gym on their own, hopefully they're not just doing what every other kid does and just does 100 sets of bench press and then leaves. And then they end up, pulling their shoulders all in tight and whatever. Yeah. But they start to develop, again, they're not like experts on it, but they develop a bit of an understanding of like, the types of things that you can do in a gym, how you should try to balance it out a little bit. Yeah. Like what an exercise should be performed like.
Yeah.
And I think all that's really important.
Oh, huge.
Because this is something when we started out again, like ideally we see people in the off season and then they end up somewhere else, like not in London eventually. So they're going to end up on that team. And a lot of people, even at an NHL level, haven't necessarily gotten the best training off the ice. Yeah. And they don't even know really how to operate in the gym yet.
No, you're right. Yeah, and, it's so true, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, if they're going to the OHL and there's team workouts, and sometimes those team workouts might have back squats or deadlifts or whatever, and there's nothing wrong with those exercises, but when we send people away, they can do them without getting hurt, which is good.
Yeah.
And then where some other people, they're still doing the same exercise, they're still doing the team workout, but they're not able to do those exercises properly. And it's strength and conditioning is getting better, where teams oftentimes have a better strength and conditioning coach who cue and teach and all that stuff. But in some cases, that's not the case. So, I mean, to me, I'm also thinking about how we can prepare these young athletes to not just be with us, but to go out and play with, play in the junior B or OHL or whatever it is, and be able to operate in that system.
Yep. And I think so another question I have for you is, as those players get older, so now they're 15, 16, 17, 18, they got a good off season wherever they were spending their off season. They were hopefully working out. Maybe they weren't. But then they get to a team where they got stuff going on in the season, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go through this with you about the Knights. So now you train the Knights. Obviously, you've trained them for years. Mm-hmm. How often do you show up at the start of the year with the Knights, and there's a couple kids, maybe 16, 17, maybe a European player that's over, that have hardly ever worked out before?
Yeah, it's very common.
Super common, right? Even today. Probably getting better over the last couple years.
I'd say in the last 7 years, in the last 7, there's a noticeable
it's gotten
difference.
Better. Yeah, yes. Kids are more aware, right? Like they are working out, they're training a little bit more. But you still get the odd one though. It hasn't done much, right?
It's not even that odd. It's just less. Yeah. But it happens. And a lot of them are going to good life and doing it on their own, and you got to break a lot of bad habits. So they're doing it, but they're not necessarily haven't learned how to do it well. But and that's yeah.
And then what kind of stuff would you do with them? So let's say we talk about the Knights, they got a pretty rigorous schedule. They play, 70 plus or 60 plus games. What would you do with them during the season? I know some weeks they have 2 games, some weeks they have 3. But on a normal week where maybe they have 2 games on the weekend, so you've got a good 4 or 5 days of work there where they're going to practice or they're going to.
So we break it up into 2 sessions, which is really good because the older guys, they'll come in the morning because they're not generally in school. Yeah. So we do a different training session here. And most of those guys, in terms of their competence with the movements, like if we're doing, say, trap bar deadlifts or whatever it is, they can do that stuff pretty well. Whereas at the beginning of the year with the young guys, I actually will go over all the fundamental stuff, like get a dowel, put it on the back, go over hinging, go over squatting, go over lunging, then introduce the trap bar. And then throughout the season, we won't do a ton, to be honest, a variety of exercises. Yeah. I rather get them doing some key things really well.
Makes sense.
Whether that's, say rear foot elevated split squats end up in there quite a bit, or just stationary lunges, trap bar deadlifts end up in there quite a bit. Pull up patterns, bench press is a big one around the rink. Just because they all love doing it, to be honest. So we teach them how to do it properly. Yeah. I'm not necessarily like an all about bench press type of guy, but they're going to do it either way. So that's something we teach them.
May as well teach them.
So with the young guys, it really is about doing a little bit less variety of exercises, I would say. Yeah. Build a strong foundation and then get them pretty competent with a key number. It's like start with a small toolbox and then build that toolbox out. Yeah. So that's.
And then in those 2 or 3 workout sessions, how many workouts would they have in a week?
It usually starts at 3 early in the season, and then narrows down to 1 or 2,
depending on the week.
Depending on the week, and how tired they are and that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's funny though, 5, 6 exercises they would key in on. I mean, some teams do 5, 6 drills all year, right? Yeah. On the ice, it's crazy, man. Now that's a little bit maybe uncreativity from the coaches, but man,
and then there is stuff so we'll introduce them into cards. So you have your cards, each different whatever has a different exercise attached to it. Well, it's usually push-ups and front plank leg raises or whatever, simple little exercises. And they'll do that stuff more regularly. So we'll help them get in a routine of doing these simple things like push-ups and all that on their own more regularly. So we'll do an official training session right.
But they can do other stuff on their.
They're encouraged to do other stuff like that. And then we give them active recovery protocols. So foam rolling, lacrosse balls, stretching with bands, whatever it is, and then that stuff they do a little bit more regularly.
Who is over your bunch of years that you've been there now? Who are a couple guys that stand out as the biggest horses? Guys that just were gym rats and just worked their ass off.
Jared Knight.
Okay.
Yeah, he was an animal. Yeah. And that's even in season, he'd still work pretty hard. Yeah. Currently Andrew Perot's a pretty big, strong kid. Yeah. They stand out. Obviously, guys like Bo, he played a lot of minutes and stuff too, after the first couple years. So in season, and to be completely honest, their workouts are to be on 15 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
They're short,
it's 15, all 20 minutes. For the most part, right?
Some of the younger guys will work out for maybe 45 minutes or an hour, but with a lot of those older guys, so you don't get to see that side of everybody too in season. Domi's another guy that he's a strong kid, but
Yeah.
in season workouts are like 15, 20 minutes, and we're not going like crazy.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
Whereas and some guys will just want to do it though. Like Jared Knight's a guy that he would want to like do heavy squats like in the season and stuff, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. But that's not something that, especially at a junior level, where I'd start pushing that really hard on guys.
Yeah.
Like a guy like Bo, like his pregame routine, he does cleans. So he'll do like cleans and skipping before.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like feels way more powerful on the ice. And that is completely scientifically backed too.
Yeah.
That something like that would jack up your nervous system and get you feeling a little bit more explosive.
Now, for a guy like Bo, is that something that he talks to you a little bit about as far as?
Yeah. And I didn't even necessarily, to be honest, tell him to do that.
Yeah.
But like we do cleans and stuff in the off season. We had done like cleans and box jumps together and be like, talk about like, can you feel like after your first set, like how much more explosive you feel?
Yeah.
And then it was after like one of our first a couple of years training, 1 to 2 was in the NHL. And I asked him like, what do you usually do like pregame and stuff? And he's like, cleans. Like, what? That's awesome. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So just lightweight, kind of like not
like
crazy.
set for him, like 60, 70 kilograms, which is like 50% of what max would be.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's
That's
pretty
really
interesting.
cool. What about Mata? Mata was probably a bit of a horse too, though, eh?
Oh yeah, he's more on the work capacity side though.
Yeah,
Just like
he just
want to hit the bike for like an hour after a game. Like he's definitely a workhorse. Always wanted to do something, and that's actually something that he's done a really good job. I think of scaling back almost.
Yeah, and
like
being smarter. I think.
Yeah, being smarter.
When he was young, he just
super motivated.
Yeah,
wanted to make it to the next level, which obviously he did.
Yeah,
but like. Worked like super hard.
Probably
all
took
the
some
time.
miles off his body.
Oh man,
that hard.
Yeah,
like,
it was incredible. Actually, like
young,
to be honest, it's incredible
yeah,
how much
when
you would
you're
do.
young, you don't, your body's invincible. Like
you're
not gonna get hurt because you don't think about that.
No,
right? Now I mean, as you get older, I know for me, like now that I'm older, I'm like, I worry crossing the street. It's like I'm gonna get hit by a car for sure today.
Yeah.
You're just everything changes on how you look at things, right?
Oh yeah.
And when these young guys are just like powering through stuff.
Her.
And I think as you get older, and like even as a pro athlete, as you get older, you start to get smarter. You know your body a little bit better. You start to scale back a little bit and try to get smarter on how you're doing things and different, and obviously things like that, right? When you look at those guys, like a couple of guys we just mentioned, and you look at them in the NHL now. It's not really a surprise that some of them are doing well. No. Right? Like when you look at how they are.
There's none.
Right?
They're a surprise. Right.
And I mean, just even just the type of character guys they are, but then also like you see how hard they work. You see some of the adversity some of them have gone through as far as just tough coaches or whatever it is, family issues, whatever.
They frame the whole thing,
and then and kind of push through that stuff and just the kind of the character they have.
Man, like I've learned just as much, if not more, from like some of these guys in terms of like exactly the types of things you're talking about than what they've probably learned even from me. Like, it's incredible. It's inspiring just to see like the way some of these guys act. Like they're pros before they're pros
for sure.
And we're talking like young, like they're not like we're saying 16, 17, 18 year olds being pros. Like if I think of what I was doing then, it wasn't like that.
A little different.
Like for me, it was I mean, not and not that it was bad, but like it is. They're on a different path for sure.
One of the things that's come up in the last bit and for a while now is that mental toughness. And you and I talked about it a while ago, but and when you look at these guys that are high level players and stuff like that. How mentally tough they are, and how does that happen? And is it trainable? Like is helping someone or working with someone to become more mentally tough? Is it trainable?
Like it is, but you got to be willing to like I don't know that just anyone can do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess my question is, should we start like waterboarding guys, and should we start like locking guys in solitary confinement?
I do think intermittently. Like doing stuff that's just
crazy,
just,
right?
That just
push
sucks.
Push.
Yeah, and that's no way to train like regularly. I don't think.
Yeah.
But definitely like doing some stuff that's just brutal. Like that's especially for these guys. Like if we're talking like off the ice stuff, like safe but brutal.
Yeah.
Like the combination of like sprints on the assault bikes with sled pushes and whatever. Like you just feel like hell after, and then you got to do another set.
Yeah.
Like. There's nothing wrong with doing that once in a while. Like, I do it to myself, and I think I get a lot of benefit out of it. Like, the like the one time when I'm telling you, this changed me. Biking from London to Tobermory. Yeah. It was like 312 kilometers. And I just did it straight. It took 13 hours. And I didn't stop. And it was brutal. But like it was good. Like I think that was good for me.
Now, was it a group that did it?
No.
Or just you?
Just did it by myself.
Okay, I remember that. That was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Was somebody riding with you or driving with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Grandpa was following me.
Okay.
In a car.
Yeah. Grandpa was out in front of me.
I didn't pull him.
No.
300 kilometers.
But what was going through your head as you're doing that, especially like, let's say 10 hours in, or not even 10 hours, let's say 6 hours
This
in.
was like the craziest experience ever. Like I literally started like crying, but I wasn't intentionally like crying. It wasn't just tears in my eyes. Like I was crying.
Yeah.
But I was like,
you broke.
But I was like, then I started laughing because I'm like, what the hell is going on right now?
Why am I crying right now?
Yeah, I was literally crying though. Like it wasn't like tears in the eyes. It wasn't like the wind was in my face. Like I was crying.
Was it something was it something that was built up inside you that you were just thinking about that you kind of let go, or was it
no? I don't.
Was
think
it a proud thing that you're like, I'm doing this? No, just emotions.
My body, I think, was just so dead, and it was like screw.
When was it?
I have no idea. It was close to the end. Yeah.
But like,
maybe it's because I was close, but it wasn't like an emotional thing, like at all.
Yeah.
Like not it. Like crazy. I wasn't like I'm so happy I did that. Like not like that. Like I was literally just riding.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I started like just. Like tears started coming out of my eyes, but not like not like wind in the face tears.
Now, did you have any moments throughout that rate or throughout that ride where you wanted to quit?
I got confused a lot, like towards the end. Like I like started freaking out a couple of times because I was like, I don't know where I am. Like I thought I was going the wrong way, because my grandpa had gone like he went way ahead.
Okay,
and then I would basically catch him.
Yeah,
and then he'd go ahead again. And it was like it probably wasn't even long. Like it was probably like 20 minutes or something that I hadn't seen him, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, where am I? Like, I don't know if I'm going the right way. Because there was like a turn. And I was like, am I supposed to take that turn? I don't know if I'm supposed to take that turn. Man, and then I'd like start freaking out a little bit. But like, so I wasn't with it at that point mentally. Like it was not long after that I started like crying. But like I could feel my body breaking down. I could feel it breaking down. Like I've never had that before.
That's like, not, and you really didn't train for it.
That was my first time in my life on a road bike. I'd never been on a road bike in my entire life, and I borrowed that bike from a friend because I was gonna do it on my mountain bike, and he's like, "You're an idiot."
Oh, that would take you.
I don't think I could have done it. I don't think I could have done it.
You probably would.
Because this bike, that I borrowed, it was a good bike.
Yeah, they're sweet. They're like road bikes.
Yeah. But I think stuff like that's great. No, I agree. So I'm an advocate of it.
Yeah,
and that's why. But like, because you can even do like a hard bag or 20-minute workout, but like that was brutal.
That is long. When you got there, so like, did you ride right into Tobermory?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you got there, what happened after that? You got off the bike.
Went to the restaurant.
Yeah, just pounded food.
And they're like, so we went and we sat down there, and I ordered a large pizza and a burger and fries. And the guy's like, "This is just for you," because my grandpa ordered something else, right? And I was like, he's like, "If you eat all this, I'm going to give you free dessert." And I crushed it. Like, no problem. I ate the large pizza, burger and fries, and then that like apple pie, right? And ice cream right after. No problem.
Amazing.
I was, I was dead.
Clearly this guy had no idea who you were.
I probably could have done that anyways.
And a burger on your own anyway, but
but like,
and then
my
did you guys
legs
spend the
were,
night that night? And you guys spent the night there? And
we did. And then drove back. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but like crazy. That was like one of the only times I've done something like that. But that was brutal. One time I ran, like it didn't run, and I ran from London to Thamesford, so it was 25K, and I never like trained to run ever. Like I had done like 2K, 3K, like just stupid. Like I just get stupid things in my head.
How did that?
And
feel?
it was awful.
No doubt.
It was brutal. I walked a couple times, but it was brutal.
Like biking, you can glide. Skating, you can glide.
Yeah, you can't glide.
Running, you can't glide. Like you stop, you're done. And sometimes when you stop for a minute or two, you're screwed. It's hard to get going again.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that kind of stuff. But again, like you've been doing this kind of like stuff for a while, just even if it's 20-minute workouts or 13-hour bike ride. But those kind of like mental baggers like that, I think they're massive, man. Yeah. And I think like, you know, when we look at our young kids now, our young population, like I don't think there's a lot of adversity for some of them. You know, now don't get me wrong. There's people that have a tremendous amount of adversity with a lot of different, you know, issues. But in general, any kind of kid with parents that are making okay money, there's hardly any adversity for them. You know what I mean? It's pretty smooth sailing. So how do we help those young kids get, and I think it probably comes back to that structure and that discipline and things like that, but, and not only that, put them, I'm not saying put your kid on a treadmill and run them for 20 minutes or an hour, but
that's you got to, and that's what I mean. Though, you got to kind of decide to do it on your own a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, if you see value in it, like it puts you in a different spot.
Oh, for sure.
Because you just like hate it.
Yeah.
And you want to keep going for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, and you need to get like a pretty good, like you need to anchor it pretty hard. Like I know like leading up to something like that, you're like I'm gonna make it. Like, so you don't start getting as tired until later. Whereas if you're, I think a lot of people give up well before.
Well, and I think that's the other thing. I think people quit.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people just quit 10 hours in, like, that's pretty good. I made it to Watford or wherever, Ryerson, I'm good, right?
Yeah.
We just quit. I was out with the team this week, and there was an older team, like band age group, and they had just done the beep test with their team. I don't know why they were doing it in November. It doesn't matter. But I feel like the beep test is one of those things where it's like a mental. That's a good
one. That's a good one.
Piece for these young kids, right? And they come in, and I'm like, well, how'd you guys do? And one kid's like, I got to 13-0. I'm like, oh, that's great, man. The other kid's like, I got to 10. I'm like, how come you only got to 10? He's like, well, I kind of just dropped out. I'm like, normally I get to like 12 something. I'm like,
why did you do that?
Why? He's like, well, he said he was going to drop out with me. I'm like, but why would you do that? And I was like, right away, I was like, that's a mental thing. You got to gut that out. How do you not gut that out? How do you not just, anytime there's a challenge, how do you not rise to it and just like, I want to do the best I can. I'm going to, but it's one of those things where this kid's a good kid, but I'm just saying like,
you know what though? That's a good point and that's again, I think that's why you don't need to do stuff like that often, because you need to commit to it.
Yeah.
Like you gotta like be ready to push yourself right to the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, but if you're doing, let's say like stuff like crazy stuff all the time, it's a lot easier. I think it becomes almost easier to cop out of it a little bit.
Right.
Like I don't know. I think.
No, I agree. If you're doing this stuff weekly,
and I'm talking like big stuff.
Yeah. No, for sure. But I remember when I was a kid, like anytime the beep test came up in high school, like I was nervous. Yeah. I was nervous. I wanted to be what I had last time. I wanted to crush everybody in the class. Like, and there was a group of us like that. We all like pushed as hard as we could. But I mean, and now I see kids doing it, and sometimes we run them, and kids are out in like the 8th, 7th. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And they don't look that tired. It's like, if you're getting out at 7, I hope you're like lying on the ground. Yeah. And just like, joke. Yeah. But if you're walking away, like, that was hard.
It's starting to get tough.
That wasn't hard.
No.
You don't know what hard feels like then.
And I think a lot of that comes back to, when you meet these kids at 16, 17, 18, what were they like, or what was their environment like when they were 6, 7, 8, 9? You know what I mean? I'm not saying it had to be hard or not hard. But even just parents challenging kids. Even going for a hike with your kid. Yeah. No 7, 8-year-old very seldom wants to go for an hour hike or 2 hour hike. Yeah. By 30 minutes into like, this sucks, like, no, we're doing this. We're going, I remember my wife was away, and I took my kids up to Sudbury to see my family this summer. So we're driving up the road. I have my dog and my 2 kids. We pull off in this like little area because I had to go pee by the French River. And so we pull off on the highway, and there's like a little area, like a guest information spot. But then there's like trails in the woods. And there's this cool area that has like a river that goes through it and by the French River. So I'm like, well, let's go, my kids are young. Like, we'll go walk down there and find the river. Yeah. I'm like, okay, everyone's cool. Take off. I got my dog with me. We're all walking through. Well, mosquitoes are ridiculous because up north the mosquitoes are crazy, right? So mosquitoes are starting to bite a little bit, and I can feel it. Like, oh man, my daughter's like 2.5 at the time. She's walking, and my boy's a little bit older, 3 maybe, but 4. But anyways, we're ripping through, and we're going like not long, but like 5 minutes. I can't find the water. 10 minutes, can't find the water. I'm like, and my kids now are like, hey, Dad, can we go? Like they're like swatting flies away. I'm like, kid, we'll see that ridge. We'll go to that ridge, see if we can find it. So we get to this little ridge, kind of see the water. It's a little bit further away. But like my daughter's got like little bug bites all over her neck and stuff. I'm like, oh man. And they weren't happy about it. Yeah. They were like, they battled through it. But yeah, it was fine. So my kid, let's go. We got to walk back. They go, carry me. I'm like, no, I can't carry you. I got the dog, like, whatever. So we ended up getting out of there, and it was good. I get in the car, and we're driving away. I'm like, guys, I was really proud of you guys. I know that wasn't fun and a lot of mosquitoes. And my son looks at me, he's like, Dad, that was a really bad idea. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
But you did it.
Yeah. It was really funny though. And you're going to, there's times you try to do that again and they wouldn't go. They're like, no, I'm not going. There's no way. And like not fighting with them. Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm not saying that's going to make my kids tough. I'm just saying there's little things like that happen where you're like, you got to figure it out. Like I know mosquitoes suck. We're from Canada. There's going to be mosquitoes, like whatever. We're going to battle through this. We're going to figure it out or,
Yeah.
But I think those are the little moments for me when I look at it, I'm like, oh, I was really proud of my kids. Like, they made it out. It was all good. No one, a couple bug bites, but we're good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
And you never know what's going to resonate. Like there's, you know what I mean? Like there could be other times where, and maybe it's something completely that you didn't even notice that they had a hard time with. Yeah. And they're having a hard time with something else. And they're like, oh, I did that. Yeah. So I can probably do this too. Or whatever it is. Because I think we all have stuff like that.
I was going to say, we all do that, right? Do.
Yeah.
And where you're like, man, I did this before. I ran this before. I had this crazy thing I had to do even for work. Yeah. Like sometimes it takes some mental toughness even to just get through projects at work.
Oh yeah.
Right? Where it's something you don't want to do. You've been thrown on the back burner forever. You don't even want to touch it. And then all of a sudden, I got to do this, man. Because it's nagging, So I think a lot of that stuff is huge. But I'd love to see more stuff out there on how to help kids get more mentally tough. Mm-hmm. I know there's stuff out there, but just easy ways to help teams, to help parents, to help coaches, help kids get more mentally tough. Yeah. Whether it's little challenges or it's little, you keep kids accountable on certain things or different things that we can do as coaches or as skills coaches or strength coaches and parents and all that stuff to kind of help kids, become more mentally tough. It's
one thing to work really hard to do like a prolonged, like whatever, just a terrible thing. But then it's another thing too, I find, and it's a challenging, like to have yourself in a bad headspace. Like let's say you're playing a game or whatever and you're down and that guys start playing, like everyone's playing whatever, like being able to flip that is that's a mental toughness thing. Like a huge mental toughness thing. Yeah. And I think that's something that people could really benefit from. And there's definitely ways to train that mentally. Oh, for sure. Like just reframing things and whatever. But that's I think, and I think it even comes back to the work thing, whatever. But like just reframing things and being able to change your mindset in the moment a little bit. Like that's hard to do. Yeah. Yeah.
I think there was when I was fortunate to be part of a Hockey Canada event, the U17s this summer. And one of the phrases they used a lot there was, be comfortable being uncomfortable. Yeah. And I think it stuck with me. And I think it's whether that's going up and meeting new people, because some people are comfortable just like in a crowd or meeting people. I think putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations and becoming a little bit more comfortable in those situations, I think is huge. And for young kids, same thing. Like how many young kids like saying sorry? That's like the hardest word in the English vocabulary for young kids, but teaching them how to say sorry, teaching them how to apologize or speak to adults or however
just that speaking to adults. I think that's huge, a big one, right? I do. Like, I know I can even remember for me, like that was like an intimidating thing for all of us. Yeah. And I'm sure everyone went through it, but and when you overcome that, like, okay, I can go talk to anyone.
And every once in a while you'll come across a young male or female that's young and they'll come up to you like, hey, how you doing, Mitch? And just like look in the eyes and just like, and I don't know, for me, it's like,
this is awesome. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good for you. And some kids just have that personality. Yeah. Some kids, their parents really fostered that and got them doing that. But it's always impressive to me when
I think that's one of the biggest first steps to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because I don't know what it is, but that is super uncomfortable and I was saying when you're a young kid just approaching somebody that you don't necessarily know or whatever. Yeah. Especially if it's someone that you're interested in talking to, you're like, I don't know what to say. Whatever it is. If it's a hot chick or whatever. When you get a little bit older. Yeah. But I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's cool for sure. What was it like when you first started working with the Knights? Like you were kind of started training here or working here, as a skills coach. Was that an uncomfortable situation for you? Was it a little bit intimidating at your first couple months here or whatever with the Knights as far as just being there and being part of what they're doing? And
it's funny though, because at that time I was just kind of finishing up a whole lot of school, just finishing up doing a whole lot of courses, felt like I knew everything. Right. You know what I mean? So I actually wasn't as intimidated as you might thought, there, right? As I would have thought, maybe thinking about, but I don't think I was really too uncomfortable with it. Which is probably that being said, it is a good thing. And that's where I think I was definitely far from where I am now in terms of like what I actually know, and a lot of that's come from experience. But I think it's good that I had all that backing in terms of what I had done personally, and then education and whatever. Because at that point, no, I wasn't really.
But I think even a little bit of
I'm more comfortable. What I would have been uncomfortable with then is talking to them, to like any of the players, about something more specific and personal. Like you're not putting anything in. Like, why are you not doing anything here? Or
challenging them that way.
That I wouldn't have done that as much. But in terms of like, this is a great program and like this is what you should be doing, and like I was way more. I was fine on that sense. Yeah. But if guys like weren't going hard, or if guys were like, whatever it is, like I'd have a harder time pulling someone aside and like talking to them about something. Yeah. Whatever that something
and
is.
that kind of comes more with maturity.
Yeah.
Too,
so that's,
right?
I don't even think that was like I actually probably just wouldn't have even recognized as well either. Like at that point, what they could be doing better or differently. Yeah. Whereas now I'm more comfortable with that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And also too, you've also got a pretty cool sample size of guys now that you've worked with for a while that have been in those boys' shoes. Yeah. And be like, guys, like that's not even close to where you should be right now.
Yeah. At that,
way so far off. And I think sometimes for these young kids to hear that, like, whoa. I do it on the Ace with guys all the time. Like, everyone's different, so I don't compare them, but I'm like, no. Man, do you guys realize how much this person did extra? Yeah. You look at the guys like Kachuk and Horvat and Nada, those guys were off the charts on how much extra stuff they did. Yeah. And then these guys go out for one extra skate a month. They're like, taking advantage. No, you're a joke. You're not even close, And I think that's another thing where having guys like yourself or myself, or even guys like Mark and Dale that have been around, and they see that kind of recipe, of how to get to that next level. There's 1,000 recipes on how to get to the next level, right? Really? Yeah. But I mean, they know 999 of them. And,
I was just going to say, if you want mental toughness, that's a good place to be. Be with the Knights. They'll give you the mental toughness. It's true though, but and it comes from they know, man. Like you said, they've gone through it. Yeah. They've taken people through it. And you can really appreciate it. They'll tell you if you're not doing what you need to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. And sometimes it's not sugar coated. Yeah. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. No. I think it's a good thing. Yeah. But it's being able to take that, advice, whether it's coming from you or me or Hunters or whoever, and use it to your advantage. You know what I mean? Because it really is coming from a good place. Like we've seen so many players, like that organization, so many players make it to the next level. And then it's pretty easy to see when guys, there's a lot of consistencies, between what those people did and what you're doing. Yeah. And, you need to do this stuff. Yeah. Like I heard the one thing when you were talking to Rob, talking about players just being accountable, and that's the only part of that I heard, but that's huge. And it's not everyone does it. Yeah. Not even close. No, you're right. Being accountable to yourself is one of the biggest things. I'd say across the board, that is something that I would also agree that everyone that I've worked with that's kind of made it up to the highest level, that whatever, they pretty accountable. Yeah. Not a lot of the guys we've talked about or mentioned or that, are excuse guys. No, I didn't play last night because this other guy got called up, or coach doesn't like me. Hardly. No, never. Be I need to do this better. Yeah, or I need to work on this, and that's what I love about they'll come in the off season. The guys, especially that have been there a little bit longer. I think on the on ice they probably all do this. They'll say I need to work on this. Yeah, you know what I mean. Whereas on the off ice, that's something again from the guys that have been around longer. We talk about that every year, so they do come in a lot of times saying, I need to work on this year. I need to work on this year. And they're, being accountable for what they need to work on. Yeah. And I think that's huge. Yeah. But a lot of people don't have it on the off ice side, even at the pro level. And that's something that I try to help give some guidance on. As far as helping to identify the relationship, the relationship even between what you're doing off the ice and what's going to happen on the ice, so that they can come into the gym and say, I think I need to work on these areas. Yeah. And then I love hearing that, because I think that, to be the best you can be, you do need to have some understanding of, what you're actually trying to get better at. You can't just be I 100% trust everything that Mitch says, and I'm just going to do exactly that. That's actually not necessarily what I want. I don't think it's good either. I'd rather have a conversation. Yeah. I'd rather, and then maybe that conversation is you know what, I don't think that actually might not be the best for these reasons. And I never thought about that. But then it's a conversation. You know what I mean? I'd rather have that conversation than have just come in and be like, I'll just do whatever you say. I actually hate that.
Well, it makes it harder because
when they're younger, that happens. That's fine. But as they get older,
and also too, especially as they're older, it doesn't have to be NHL. It could be like junior, doesn't matter. But as they're getting older, I always tell them, you guys got to be invested in your career. Whether it's playing college or playing pro, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But like, let's say you're playing AAA in Bantam. You got to understand what you're good and not good at.
Yeah.
That guy beats you every time on the draw. Okay, I got to get better on my draws. Or I can't protect the puck. I always lose the puck. Okay, I need to get better at protecting the puck.
Yeah.
But if somebody comes to me like, I'll do whatever. Okay, well, I think your skating's bad. Well, I think my skating's pretty good.
Okay,
forget it. Let's not work on that because I'm not going to be able to. I can massage it in there, but you got to. It's way better.
Got to be a two-way.
Even with young players, when parents come to do a private or some sessions, I always be like, "Oh, what are some things that you'd like to work on?" I've got a plan for him or her, but I'd love to hear what you have to say because you watch her or him all the time, and they'll be like, "Oh, just shooting, okay, perfect." And then I'll do that. I'll watch him skate maybe, or I'll watch him pass. I'm like, passes are always wobbly, so I got to make sure we address that. But the main thing is the shooting. So you'll add passing into the shooting, so they're working on their passing as well. Or you add skating into the shooting, so that so they're working on those things as well. Going back real quick though on the Knights, and with Mark and Dale, I think the one thing you said that is I think huge is they don't play a lot of mind games with guys.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, and I mean if you're overweight, they may say it and like maybe their delivery isn't great as far as like, hey, get away from the pizza, but that's what basically they're saying. Like if you want to play at the next level, you want to play minutes for us. You got to lose weight, or you got to get more fit, or you got to get your shot better. Yeah.
And it's not just because they think that.
No.
It's because they've seen it. Yeah. Like literally thousands of times.
Two things that I've seen over the man, it's been almost 13 years that I've been working in and out with them. But the two things that I see with them is they want to win. So they want these players to be good for them, but they also want players to play at the next level.
They do, genuinely.
And they love players playing at the next level.
Yeah.
I mean, so if they go to the draft every single year, now I know there are obviously a lot of times there's a lot of other stuff going on at the draft that they need to be there for, but and to support their players, and it's obviously a fun party and a good time, but they want to move players on to the next level, and I think that is the whole goal. When I talk to players when they first go to the O, I'm like, are you here to win a Memorial Cup, or are you here to play in the NHL?
Yeah.
Because every kid that goes to the OHL is not like, I want to go to the OHL, then I'm going to go to school and be a doctor. Like you may get the odd one, but for the most part, they play in the OHL. Like I want to play in the NHL. And whether that is in the cards or not, doesn't matter. That's a great goal. Okay, let's work towards that.
Definitely.
Right? So if that's what you want to do, then these are the things you have to do along the way. And I think that's the huge thing. And the one thing with Mark and Dale again is they're going to give it to you straight. If you ask a question, they're going to give it to you. If you're doing a good job, they're going to tell you. If you're not doing a good job, you're going to hear it. Yeah. They're not going to let that go. And I think for the young kids, it's good to hear that. Sometimes they don't like hearing it, but some of the kids, like you talked about Prod, like it doesn't love, or Perisor doesn't love maybe hearing it, but he'll take it and he'll work his ass off to get better,
100%.
And I think that's, Horat was another good example of that.
Oh, yeah.
We took some little bit of heat for.
And it's tough at that age sometimes.
Yeah.
Like to take critical information.
And I mean, for a guy like Bo, and people have heard this a bunch, I'm sure, but this is a kid who started off on the fourth line in the O, rattled, first round pick, fourth line in the O, was getting ridden a little bit, just wasn't fast enough, wasn't playing with pace. They thought he needed to lose a little bit of weight. Just a farm boy, kind of a big, whatever. But man, like you look at that process and the process he went through, which sometimes you don't see it when it's happening. But you take the step out now and look at it, like worked out okay.
Yeah.
Josh Anderson, same thing, like fourth line guy.
Well, I was going to just say that.
Tierney, fourth line guy.
It's not that's not an uncommon story. It's not like it's only Bo's story. It started here, the fourth line, and worked your way up and then played in the NHL. It's not uncommon.
No, but how many parents and agents would have been like, fourth line, are you kidding me? I want to trade.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Well, and then that's that. And then that comes back to the mindset thing is like when you're in the moment, can you switch your mindset? Like, because for that kid, and it doesn't help if the parents doing that. I don't, because that makes them feel like, oh, well, maybe they're right. Like, I'm playing in the fourth line. Like, there's no way I'm going to make it to the next level if I'm playing the fourth line now.
Yeah. But did that grind from and this isn't just Bo, this could be Tierney, could be Anderson, could be a player in Sarnia, it doesn't matter. But that grind and that mental battle of playing on the fourth line as a first round pick and 16-year-old who's supposed to be great. Is that grind help him make the NHL down the road?
I think there's definitely potential.
That's not an easy season to go through.
No,
when you're you want to be the top six guy, you want to play on the power play, and now he worked his way into all those roles, but he could have easily just been like, "This is bullshit."
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If you don't have the mindset to just all right, let's grind and let's get to the next, like work my way up the lines, or whatever.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, and you're just like, well, that's me. I'm a fourth line guy, and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some people do that though.
Oh, for
but
sure.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know, and I think partially maybe that's part of the pro. Like, you know, I don't think it's an accident that the Hunters have done that more than once. You know what I mean? Like,
No way.
you need to have some serious like, you know, you need to be able to overcome this stuff if you want to play in the NHL.
Yeah.
It's not the last time it happened probably throughout the process either, where it was just something challenging came up.
Right.
You know, it's always something challenging because it always comes up.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
No, well, I remember one thing Bo said too, actually, just coming back to that, was just like every time you make it to the next whatever, and he said this, I think, in your podcast, is it's time to put the work boots on. The next level, time to put the work boots on. It was never like, oh, I made it. And even now, like, that's not where he's at. Like, it's like, keep working, keep getting better.
Yeah.
He's having a great season this year.
Well,
and
man,
every offseason he's working hard, working harder even. Like,
and I mean, Vancouver's good. This like not good. They're playing well. They're winning games though, you know, which is good. And no one expects them to be even half decent. They're doing all right. He's got almost a point a game right now, like playing a leadership role, playing good minutes. Like it's really good for him. And I can see him as a guy who's just going to continue getting better. And they got some really good young talent in Vancouver, which will be great. Yeah. So once those guys kind of get used to the NHL and get accustomed to start playing a bigger role with Vancouver, they could be pretty legit in a couple of years. For sure. You know, as they keep adding pieces to that puzzle type thing. But I think Bo's obviously a big piece of that as far as just being a good guy and mature and just, exactly. And a kind of a good leader and a good guy to have around that locker room for sure. You know, plus he's like 42 years old. So it's perfect. in a 22-year-old body. Flip his age, exactly, for sure. Well, listen, buddy, it's always a place. It's always fun, man, to have you stop by. So I really appreciate it, and we'll catch up soon for sure.
Sounds good.
All right, buddy. Thanks, man.